Okay, so let's start off with this. I've never played a dating sim before, but Boyfriend Dungeon was intriguing. A dungeon crawler and a dating sim? I dismissed it as a silly idea, but somewhere along the lines, joking about what I perceived as a satirical game became morbid curiosity. And I think we have an old adage about curiosity. The first thing we need to bring up, the warning at the beginning of the game about characters being manipulating. I don't know what's scarier, the fact that the characters are built this way, or that people need warned that a lot of these interactions are not normal. And it is creepy. Some of the interactions are absolutely abnormal. Eric's actions are stalking, while Sunder seems to have a hard time with boundaries. Boyfriend Dungeon is a dungeon crawler where you date your weapons. Yes, those stabby and slashy things used throughout the game for killing, they also happen to be romantic interests. Okay, I'm being coy here, as the weapons are actually people that can transform into weapons. But is that really any less ridiculous? The combat, while sufficient, is a little bare bones. You will light and heavy attack your way to combos, dodge roll out of danger, and have zines as limited use spells. Throw in some coffee or tea as health pots, and that is the extent of your buttons. Each weapon has their own attack patterns, advantages, and disadvantages. While Sunder the Tall War is slower, his attacks cause a bleed, and reach further and wider than, let's say, Valeria the Dagger, which trades the reach for more and faster attacks that seem to have a higher crit chance. As you bring your weapon people for hangouts at the dungeon, your experience will increase and eventually be ready to level up, which will require you to go on additional dates. Now there is a lot of metaphor to unpack here. The whole hanging out with people, getting to know them, and then going on dates to level up your relationship is awkwardly dehumanizing. And this is where I started to become taken aback by Boyfriend Dungeon. There needs to be a large amount of compartmentalizing for the dating sim part of this game to work. Are you putting effort into the relationship with the person, or their capability as a weapon? Unfortunately, I found myself leaning into the latter, which made it hard to avoid the feeling I was treating most of them as an object, instead of as a person they were supposed to be. And as much as I tried to shake it off and remind myself it was just a game and these weapon people weren't real, doesn't that defeat the entire premise of a dating sim, where you are supposed to be building a personal connection with said character? Then there was the canned date interactions. This is where the game just entirely fell apart for me. The relationship building from 2 to 4 answer choices was something that was just wrong and synthetic. The dates will last a handful of questions and then have a "you hang out for some time before going home" prompt, which is just a very video game narrative tool that transfers poorly into the game's context. I rewrote this section at least 3 times, because I've been battling an internal argument of, listen, it is fine for people to have an escapism valve in a game like this, who may lack real-life interpersonal relationships, platonic or romantic, to know this isn't even remotely close to real interactions, and it is feeding unhealthy parasocial relationships. While I know where I stand on this, I will leave it to the viewer to weigh their own conclusions. Feel free to call me out in the comments here, but this game gets a hard no from me. While the dungeon crawling isn't bad, there are far better games in the genre. The rest of the story is just uncomfortable at best, and leans way too heavily into that manipulation warning. And this isn't just the characters. My own interactions from having to balance wanting to use their weapon side for dungeons and using the people side in relationships is a trade-off that I never wanted to experience. I went into Boyfriend Dungeons joking, saying, "This better not awaken anything in me," to coming out saying, "I don't want to experience that again." Thank you for watching.